Hi, I'm David Busch, and this is Busch History. Welcome back. This is part of our President series. Each of these videos is fairly short, and they deal with the events of the administration in power at the time. Today, we're talking about James Madison. James Madison is the fourth President of the United States. James Madison, also known as the father of the Constitution. For a while, for the first several presidents, they had all been members of the Constitutional Convention, and all had been around for the original signers of the Declaration of Independence. So let's take a look at James Madison. He is number 4. His vice president is George Clinton. He is a Democratic Republican, as was Thomas Jefferson. His term of office, another two-term president, 1809 to 1817. Who came before him and who came after him? Thomas Jefferson was a Democratic Republican. He was before him, and James Monroe, also a Democratic Republican, came after him. Must have been a nice party. Any unusual circumstance surrounding his ascent to the presidency? Well, not unusual, but kind of started a trend. Madison was Jefferson's Secretary of State and of Virginia. And as president, he was the second member of the Virginia dynasty to become president, and he started the trend of the Secretary of State becoming the President of the United States in the subsequent administration. People often say the Secretary of State is the second most powerful person in the United States. Anyway, while the Embargo Act was unpopular, the overall ideas of Democratic Republicans were much more in favor than the Federalists at the time. So the electors work out like this. James Madison, 122, Charles Pinckney, 47, and Clinton, 6. The office. Any catchphrases associated with James Madison? Mr. Madison's War, which had been the nickname for the War of 1812. When he left office, was it by choice, defeat, natural death, etc.? He did not run in the election of 1816, succeeded by James Monroe. Remember, Washington established the two-term presidency, and presidents were pretty much adhering to it, and that works that way all the way up to Franklin Roosevelt. Domestic issues and events. Well, certainly you're going to have the war hawks in Congress in 1811 and 1812. They're going to want to go to war, and they're going to be led by Henry Clay. And of course, that's going to lead us into the War of 1812. In 1804, with the Hartford Convention, it's Northern Federalists who will become Whigs in time, and they want to secede unless James Madison takes us out of the War of 1812. And James Madison is kind of caught in between the war hawks and the Northern Federalists. In 1816, we get the second bank of the United States. Well, Thomas Jefferson had largely defunded the first bank, so now we get the second bank of the United States, and the beginning of something called the American system, devised by Henry Clay. The American system was a banking system, international trade, and internal improvements. 3 legs on that stool, and you needed a bank to move the funding around. Also admitted to the Union at that time, Louisiana in 1812 and Indiana in 1816. James Madison's foreign policy events, we have the recently passed Non-Intercourse Act, passed in the waning days of the Jefferson administration, tried to reverse some of the Embargo Act and allow us to trade with all nations but England and France. And then, of course, in 1810, because England and France were the most prolific trading partners in the world, we have Macon's Bill number 2. Don't ask about Macon's Bill number 1, I hear it all the time. Macon's Bill number 2. And basically, what that was is we would trade with all non-belligerent nations, so now trade is open with France and Britain again. Tippecanoe certainly was the battle at the Tippecanoe River with William Henry Harrison, where it's discovered that the Indians at the Battle of Tippecanoe were using British weapons. Now, what are the British doing? They're arming our enemies on our border. And that leads to the war hawks in Congress wanting to go to war, and the War of 1812 to 1814. So, in 1814, towards the end of 1814, we get the Treaty of Ghent. And the Treaty of Ghent is an agreement that pretty much brings the difficulties that led to the War of 1812 and puts them aside. The British will respect American borders, they won't interfere with American shipping, and in turn, they will also remove all their troops from American soil. And in January of 1815, we have the Battle of New Orleans, and that's the Andrew Jackson victory over the British fleet at New Orleans. 2 weeks after the war had actually ended. Communication was poor, no one was aware of it. It was a decisive victory for Andrew Jackson, and to put him on the map certainly made him very popular, and he's going to run for president a few years down the road. Anyway, for now, I am David Busch, and this is Busch History. Remember, all of this is available on my website, www.buschhistory.net. Have a great day. See you soon. Bye.